Okay, welcome guys. I'm going to do activity 2.2, a 1-point perspective of the drawing you see here, and I'm going to use a box method to start here. Actually, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in this front face because I can do that, and it'll give me a little sense of perspective. I'm going to go 6 blocks wide and 2 blocks tall. If you look at the isometric, it is 3 blocks wide and 1 block tall. So I've made it larger, and the reason I've done that is to make it a little easier to see on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and essentially complete a box, if you would. And what I mean by that is I'm going to make an imaginary box that is the full height, and that's going to help me later when I go to work up at the top edge here. I'm also going to go ahead and start extending some construction lines from the points that I defined to the vanishing point, and this is setting up the object lines because everything that is diagonal is going to go to the vanishing point as opposed to the 30 or 60 degrees that I'm working on with the isometric. At this point now, I am going to need to determine the back of my box. The back of my box I'll define as, let's see, it's not quite as deep, so it's 2/3, and so I will go from here to here, and hopefully we're going to be able to visualize a box. If I wanted to change colors, maybe I'll change colors and draw that in so as to help see the edges of the box a little bit better. The outside of the box, and I probably used the wrong color, I apologize, but that's going to define the outside of my box. Hopefully you can see that. If you can't, let me know and I'll redo that. But there's an overall box. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw in this edge. Again, I've obviously twisted the box because this is what I would use as the front for this view. It goes half or a third of the way back, and if I were to think about that in thirds, the first third would be the largest third. That is to say, if I went to there, the second third would be the second largest third, and then the third third would be the smallest third, and that's because I'm doing it in perspective. I'll make a slight adjustment here and move that to, say, there, and hopefully I have a situation where I have a large third, a medium third, and a small third. Again, the further I go from the face, the smaller I'm going to be because it is not isometric, but rather it is perspective. So now drawing in some things that I know to be true for object lines. That first third is going to be a face, and it's going to be a vertical line, and then the diagonal lines are going to be on the perspective line. I now have the issue. I'd like to draw in this plane here, but the problem is that doesn't extend all the way across there, but rather stops there. And I know that's going to be a perfectly horizontal line, I just don't know how far it would go. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple construction lines below. If you look, this is 6 blocks wide, so I can divide that into thirds very easily into 2 blocks and add some construction lines below, and then use the lines extending up vertically from them where it meets this first plane in from the front, and I'm just going to extend some lines up because that will be a useful constraint when I come across that plane. So that tells me that this line goes across, and that is a third from the left edge that I have drawn, and then from here to here is a third from the right edge. So that's taking care of these two lines here. Now I know I'm going to extend back to that back plane, or I should say, to this plane here, and I need to reason that out. Extending a line to add in right there, I know its starting point is here, and then how far does it go back? Well, if I look very carefully, this side here, the left side, has been divided into three parts. This is the first. It would go to that second part, would represent that second plane. If this was the first plane I came to, that would be the second plane I came to. And that would be that intersection with this line here, or its extension vertically. So carefully extending on the construction line until I reach that intersection. I'm going to say it's going to be right there. This would follow the same, and I don't have a construction line, but there's one real close, so I'm going to go ahead and freewheel it and put that right there, like so. And then since I'm over here, I'll just go ahead and draw that one in. I now know that I would have a line dropping down right here and disappearing. That would be, well, it's hidden from the way I'm looking at it here, but that would be, at this point now, I'm going to go up vertically here and here with those two lines, and it'll be kept by a horizontal line. Now, in front, on the front face, the height of one block is 2 blocks of graph paper. Here, since it's further away, it will not be as tall. And again, this is a nice thing about having the gridded paper, or the outside box, because how far that extends up, I'm going to go up to where this intersection, I apologize, I had to think about for a second, where that comes to the top and then extends towards that. But that line that I just drew is the crucial line that's going to help me define, and it turns out that that's about 1.5 blocks. But that is going to be definitively where it would go, and I've done that by arriving at going up a third, or going up all the way to the top of the box, a third of the way in. So I've essentially went all the way up to here and then drawn that line, and that's what I went to. But I know that's going to be how that's governed. I now can go to the same height over here, and I don't need a line for that, as long as I can go to the same height and then drawing a horizontal line across. That's going to be the case. Now, there are construction lines really, really close. If I were doing it with pencil, I'd draw them in, but since the screen's already a mess, I can simply go to the back of the box like so, or the top of the box if you would, and going just past that, and then extending down, I can draw those lines in, and then drawing this down, straight down, like so. It's a little bit outside. I do realize, of course, that I've made a bit of a mistake, and that that line should not be present. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it, and I believe that that is finished. So this would be a one perspective drawing of the first object, and this is my third time drawing it, so it's getting better. It's a little bit difficult in the computer. I know it gets a little busy on that screen, but at the end of the day, I have that object represented going to a 1-point perspective.